Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. J.J. Abrams' company Bad Robot is launching a video game division, and while on the surface, Bad Robot Games doesn't sound like much of a big deal, doesn't even need its own video, when you dig a little bit deeper on this one, it's backed by Tencent and a minority stakeholder of Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. And if you're not familiar with these companies and how just absolutely gigantic they are, and especially Tencent when it comes to gaming in China and all of Asia, holy crap, this is such a big deal, it's going to send ripples throughout the entire video game industry, especially AAA publishers. And I'm not just overstating this for the purpose of sensationalizing the topic. It's a big deal. JT. J.J. Abrams has always been a huge fan of video games, and for those who know him well, he's been a very avid gamer for a very long time. As far as public appearances, the biggest thing was back in 2013 when he appeared on stage at DICE with Gabe Newell from Valve, talking about their respective mediums with video games compared to movies and how storylines work with them, and how they ended the conversation was quite interesting.
You know, this is what happens when game and movie people get together.
Yeah, and there's an idea that we have for a game that we'd like to work with Valve on.
And we're also interested in working with you guys on movies. So we're going to try to figure out if we can make a Portal movie or a Half-Life movie together.
And while nothing necessarily directly materialized from that conversation, it did show to people who are big fans of what J.J. Abrams produces that he is really into video games. Later on in 2013, he got with Epic Games to create Spyjinx, which still hasn't seen the light of day, but it showed how much he wants to get into the world of making video games. Now, Spyjinx is technically, as far as I can tell, still being worked on by Epic Games, but there are no screenshots available and haven't been any updates on that game for quite a while now. I'm talking almost over a year.
I'm such a fan of what Chair has made and the games that they've allowed me and my kids to play, but I remember the first time I played Infinity Blade, and it was just, it blew my mind what you guys had done with the Epic Unreal Engine on that device.
You might hear that and say, Epic Games, that sounds familiar. Didn't they make Fortnite? Yep, they did. And Fortnite is one of the biggest games ever created. And something you may not know about Fortnite's creator, Epic, is that they have a minority stakeholder called Tencent, who joined in a venture with Bad Robot Games. Now stay with me here, because this might get a little convoluted, but Tencent Games is quite the big player in China. They own Riot Games, and if you're not sure what Riot makes, well, you've probably heard of a game called League of Legends. That one's kind of a big deal. They also, like I said, have a stake in Epic Games, who created Fortnite. And in addition to that, they also own the company that makes Clash of Clans. This company, Tencent, is a behemoth when it comes to video game creation. In addition to that, they also develop their own games, including the massively popular mobile strategy game Honor of Kings. And in addition to leading the funding for Bad Robot Games, Tencent will also have the rights for distribution for any future titles out of Bad Robot Games going out to Asia. So this is a huge deal just from that side of things. According directly from them, Bad Robot Games will team up with traditional game developers to create both large and indie scale projects for mobile, PC, and console, leveraging its world building and storytelling expertise, in-house creative directors, and network of visual artists, musicians, sound designers, writers, and other world-class talents. This is something that hasn't really been done before when you consider the AAA industry and how games are being made. I'm thinking like what EA is doing right now and having their small indie studios in addition to their AAA titles, or how Ubisoft is running their departments but also having small indie titles that they're helping out as well with. But when you look at what Bad Robot Games is going to be doing, being backed by one of the biggest companies in video games to ever exist, and in addition to that, having a minor stakeholder from Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, there is no way to even contemplate how big and great these games coming out of Bad Robot Games will be once they actually get around to making the games. Now, nothing has been announced as of this moment, but you can rest assured they're definitely swinging ideas around and could even be working on something right now that we're not even aware of. I'm wondering if that could be Spyjinx just being picked up and being created into a much bigger game than they first anticipated, but that remains to be seen. J.J. Abrams will be directly involved with the projects. In his own words, he said, "I'm a massive games fan and increasingly envious of the amazing tools developers get to work with and the worlds they get to play in. Now we are doubling down on our commitment to the space with a unique co-development approach to game making that allows us to focus on what we do best and hopefully be a meaningful multiplier to our developer partners," meaning they want to make the best games possible and help the developer partners sell these games across the world. This is huge news for the game industry, and to be quite honest, I'm surprised nobody else is really talking about this. It might be because there haven't really been any games announced yet, but being in the game industry as long as I have and seeing these things come and go, this is one that really stood out to me as it's a game changer. It's going to change how you look at games, how you play games, what you expect out of your game experiences, the storytelling aspect from an acclaimed director of huge hits, Star Trek, Star Wars, Lost, so many huge productions that were massive successes. Just imagine if he could transfer that success into the video game world. I, for one, am ecstatic about the possibility and the potential coming out of Bad Robot Games, and we'll be following this closely to see what their first game they announce is and what to expect out of it. Based off my research of what J.J. Abrams wants out of the initial games coming from Bad Robot Games, it's going to focus and center around world building, a mechanic that's not really combined much with action RPG elements, at least these days. But in addition to that, he also wants to add in unique gameplay elements that don't necessarily exist in trendy AAA titles right now. This is something that, if it's combined with the incredible storytelling that he's able to produce from his movies, putting that together in a video game with world building aspects and RPG elements, sounds fantastic, and I don't even know what I'd be playing yet, but just think of the possibilities that could be coming out of Bad Robot Games. Being backed with a strategic relationship at Tencent Games, having basically all the money in the world to pour into a game with one of the most acclaimed directors, writers, producers of our generation, putting these video games together with top of the line musicians, artists, graphic designers. It's something that's blowing my mind and why this isn't the talk of the town right now. It's incredible to even think of what could come out of this. In fact, it's something that should scare AAA developers that exist right now. If I was EA and I saw this news coming down the pipe, I'd be scared to death right now, especially coming from a joint venture from Tencent and Bad Robot from J.J. Abrams making AAA titles and indie games, possibly, hopefully, not going down the road of DLC and trying to microtransaction people to death, but just making quality games, returning to what we want as gamers. A great story-driven experience made from the best of the best. That way, if anything else, it might force EA to step their game up and stop trying to take advantage of consumers. But that's just me hoping for the best out of this situation. I'd be interested in your take on this topic though. Specifically, what kind of game are you hoping for out of this? Is this a story that specifically interests you? Or are you kind of just a wait and see, you don't really care too much because they don't have a game announced yet, it's really hard to get excited about it? This is rare for me personally because I don't typically get excited about a venture without any kind of specific game talk. But this one's different, like I said, because it's being backed by an acclaimed director and having all these unique approaches to it. It's just something that's really exciting to me. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. As always, the Smash JT channel is brought to us by you generous Patreons out there. If you're interested in joining them, hit the Patreon link below. You can donate as little as $1 a month. Everything makes a gigantic difference. If you enjoy the content I'm making here, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and hit the bell for notifications. And again, thank you so much for watching.